Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. If you have a comment, email it to me, box13@greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives and become one of our friends on Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Detectives. Before we do get started, I want to encourage you to pick up your copy of An Ounce of Prevention. It's my first ever detective story. It's available as an audiobook through audible.com or in the iTunes store, and it's also available as an ebook through the Kindle store. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you can actually download and read the book for free. For everyone else, it's 99 cents. So pick up your copy of An Ounce of Prevention. Well, now it's time for today's episode of Nick Carter. And I'll apologize first that we are dealing with missing episodes, and also that there are some sound quality issues, particularly on the first episode we're going to play. Neither of these can really be helped. We do what we can about the sound quality. But this is one of those serials, and we had a few during the Johnny Dollar where one episode would be missing. In this case, there are two, but I still think that there's enough episodes in this story to enjoy it, and so I hope you do. And I'm really glad we've been able to play these, just because these weren't even available when we started playing Nick Carter. All right, well, with that said, we have part 3 and then part 6 of The Accidental Bullet. Original air dates, June the 14th and June the 19th of 1944.
What's the matter? What is it?
It's a case for Nick Carter, Master Detective.
Yes, it's a case for the most famous of all manhunters, the detective whose ability at solving crime is unequaled in the history of detective fiction. Nick Carter, Master Detective. Continuing the curious adventure called
The Accidental Bullet. For Nick Carter and the Mystery of the Murdered Dog.
Investigating the death of a watchdog belonging to Simon Agnew discovers that the dog was killed by a bullet that must have come from an old-fashioned muzzle-loading pistol. Then he learns that Danny Caswell, wealthy young playboy, has been killed by a similar bullet in what looks like an accident. Sensing some connection between the death of the dog and the death of Danny Caswell, Nick, with Scubby, his assistant, goes to the 52 Club, a gambling house located close to Simon Agnew's residence in search of clues. They find the club deserted, but as they're searching it, the floor suddenly opens beneath them.
Dick, look out! We're falling!
Oh, Scubby. Scubby, where are you?
Oh, here I am, Nick.
You all right?
Yeah, I guess so. Oh, gosh, what happened? Did the floor cave in? I know I just fell about 12 feet and made a one-point landing.
We're standing on a trapdoor, Scubby. Somebody pulled the lever that opened it.
Gosh, Nick, we were standing on the tiles.
To the fact it was a trapdoor.
Well, it certainly caught us by surprise, all right. Yeah, but now, where are we? So dark, all I can tell is that on a dirt floor of some kind.
Well, we had our flashlights in our hands on it.
On a dirt floor of some kind.
Well, we had our flashlights in our hands on it.
No, I can't seem to find mine. How about you?
Ah, yes, here it is. Now, if it isn't broken... Oh, good, it works. Well, we seem to be in a cellar of some kind.
Yeah. It's not a very big room, is it? Look at all those rock walls.
Yes. Certainly looks solid. Well, there's the door, Scubby. The only door.
Uh-huh. Something tells me it's solid, too.
Looks like solid oak to me. Let's see if it's locked.
Is it, Nick?
It seems to be barred on the other side. And it's at least an inch thick. Take a battering ram to knock that down.
Stone walls and a door made out of solid oak. Hey, Nick, how are we going to get out?
I don't know yet, Scubby, but there's only one way to find out. Come on, let's keep looking.
Bill, is the trapdoor shut?
Yeah, Mr. Kent. I just got it closed.
Good. Then we caught them.
Oh,
yes. And the safe...
Just better leave them there because it'll win.
I think I know how to do it.
Oh, yeah?
What's your idea, boy?
You'll see. Go outside and get Joe. We're going to need his help.
Yeah, right. What is it? Joe just grabbed some. They're spinning him in here. Trying to take away. Sure. Oh, it's raining. Yeah, knock him with my gun.
Turn him out.
Okay. Sit. Okay.
The cottage down the hill.
What do you mean he used to live there?
I mean that pretty soon he's not going to live. Hey, he'd phone the police.
Let him up, too.
Yeah, the boss ain't gonna... He's getting well organized.
When we're through, nobody's going to know they're killings. They're going to look like accidents, you understand?
Well, they better. You know what's good for you.
Now, don't you worry. You leave Agnew to us. But you've got to take care of Nick Carter and his assistant.
Yeah, I told Jake he should have let me get rid of Carter this morning when we had the chance.
Well, you're going to have your chance now. But I give plenty to know what brought him back here tonight.
Hey, do you suppose Carter knows? Do you think he guessed it?
Danny Caswell was killed here last night? I don't know. But when we spotted him, he was staring up those brackets where we got the dueling pistols off of. Just as if he'd figured exactly what happened.
Yeah, but he didn't have any clues.
Well, it doesn't matter what he knows. He'll soon be out of the way. Joe will see to that.
Okay, give me the dope.
Now, here's what I want you to do. First, find Carter's car. It's probably hidden somewhere down the road. Then drive to Old Man Carney's and get a half a dozen of those special knockout gas bombs he makes up.
Yeah. Half a dozen knockout bombs, right?
Then come back here, open the trapdoor a couple of inches, and throw the bombs down. They'll knock Carter and his man out inside of a minute.
Okay, Mr. Kent.
Now, when you're sure they're unconscious, get them out of the cellar, put them in Carter's car, drive them over to the river, then put them in the front seat and let the car roll into the river. When they're found, it'll look like an accident.
Say, it's a smart idea.
It'll work all right. And that ought to satisfy the boss.
Yeah, all right. But he still wants to know just what went on here last night. You know Philip Mansfield, the kid who was with Caswell? He's the boss's nephew.
I know it, but he won't say anything. He's too frightened. Now, get going.
Right.
Hey, boss, what are we going to do about Agnew here?
He's pretty near gone. We'll take him back to his cottage and make it look as if he died there. But first, we got to finish up here. Now, load all those old guns from over the mantel into the car and wipe out all possible fingerprints. Yeah. Then, we'll take care of Agnew.
Oh, gosh, Nick, it's no use. We've been looking for a way out of here for half an hour, and there just isn't any.
Never give up hope, Scubby. Come on, let's keep trying the walls. We may find a weak point yet.
Hey, Nick.
Yes?
I wonder if we could do anything with this old board here against the wall.
No, I thought of that, Scubby. But it's too light to use as a battering ram.
Yeah. Besides, it's all rotten, Nick. Hey, look.
What is it?
Look at all the little white ants that were underneath that board.
White ants.
Yeah.
Scubby, those aren't ants. They're termites.
Well, what's the difference, Nick?
Plenty. Termites eat wood. A nest of termites can turn a heavy timber into a mere rotting shell in a month.
Well, what of it?
What of it? That door, Scubby, it's wood. And it's touching the earth floor so that the termites can reach it.
But that door is solid. We've already found that out.
I know, Scubby, but we were hammering on it at a point several feet above the ground. Let's try it close to the ground and see what happens. Nick, what is it? Scubby, I think I've hit a rotten spot.
Yeah?
Not in the door, but in the frame that holds it. If I only had something to hammer at the weak spot. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I can kick a hole in it.
Nick, you're kicking right through the frame of the door.
Yes, Scubby. Termites are doing good work on it. The wood's fairly rotten here close to the ground. There.
Nick, you've done it. There's a hole there big enough for me to put my arm through.
Yes, Scubby. And that board you were just looking at.
Yeah, here it is. But be careful, it's pretty rotten.
I think it'll do. Now step aside, will you, so I can lie down here on the floor. And shove it through this hole. There. Now, this is just guesswork, but by poking upwards with it, I may be able to knock loose the bar that's holding the door shut.
Do you need me help, Nick?
There's nothing you can do. I think I've got it.
Oh, if that board breaks, we're sunk.
I can feel a heavy bar of some kind lifting a little out of its sockets. There goes.
Nick, you did it.
Yes. Now let's see if the door will open. Stand back, Scubby.
Okay.
And have your gun ready. There may be somebody outside.
I'm ready, Nick.
Good. Here goes.
It's opening.
Yes. Apparently there's no one outside there. I'll risk a look at my flashlight. No one there. All right, Scubby, come on. We're going back upstairs. Follow me and keep your gun handy.
Nick, there's nobody here.
No. Apparently the house is empty.
Well, that's funny. Hey, maybe they were just going to leave us down in that room to starve after all.
I hardly believe that, Scubby. My guess is that they've gone to make preparations for getting rid of us and that they'll be back.
Well, what are you going to do now, Nick? Wait for them and try to trap them?
Yes, Scubby. It'll be risky, but we haven't time to send for any help.
Oh, I'm game, Nick. I'd certainly like a chance at whoever dropped us through that trapdoor.
So would I. Well, while we're waiting, suppose we spend a minute or two looking around.
Do you think it's safe, Nick?
We'll keep our flashlights well covered, I think so.
Okay, Nick. Say, here's something funny. All those old guns that were up over the fireplace are gone.
That makes me more convinced than ever. And the dueling pistols found beside Danny Caswell's body came from that collection.
It certainly looks like it. What is it, Nick? Have you found something?
Yes. Something was lying here on the rug. A little whistle.
A whistle? What do you suppose it means?
It means Simon Agnew's been here, Scubby. That whistle is the key to his front door.
A whistle is a key to a front door? I don't follow you.
I haven't time to explain, and we can't wait here for Kent to come back either. We've got to go see if anything's happened to Agnew. Come on.
Is this Agnew's cottage, Nick?
Yes, Scubby.
So dark and silent, he must not be home.
But I want to find out. Now I'm going to show you how a whistle can be a door key, too. Watch.
Gosh, the door's opening.
Yes. Opened by an electric mechanism that responds to the sound of the whistle. One of Agnew's inventions. Come on in, Scubby.
Right, Nick. Oh, shall I close the door?
Yes. I'll try to find the light switch here. Ah, here.
Nick, look. There's someone lying there on the floor at the foot of the stairs.
Yes, Scubby. Simon Agnew.
Oh, he must have fallen downstairs. Why, Nick. He's dead.
Nick and Scubby have escaped from the death trap in which they were caught. But apparently Nick is as far as ever from solving the mystery of the strange case which began with the seeming murder of Simon Agnew's watchdog. Now Simon Agnew himself is dead. How will Nick track down the killers? Listen tomorrow.
What is it?
It's a case for Nick Carter, master detective.
Yes, it's a case for that most famous of all manhunters, the detective whose ability at solving crime is unequaled in the history of detective fiction. Nick Carter, master detective. Concluding the curious adventure called
The Accidental Bullet. Or Nick Carter and the Mystery of the Murdered Dog.
Investigating the death of a watchdog belonging to Simon Agnew, eccentric inventor, Nick Carter discovers that the dog was accidentally killed when Howard Kent, a gambler, murdered millionaire playboy Danny Caswell at the 52 Club. Nick is certain that Kent, manager of the club, was only working for a higher-up, the mysterious head of a local gambling racket, and he feels sure that when Kent is caught, he will reveal the name of the man behind him. But before Kent can be found, Nick and Lieutenant Riley get word from Sergeant Jameson of the state police that Nick's car, stolen by Kent, has been found. It has been hauled out of the river by state police, and in it are the dead bodies of Howard Kent and his assistant. Nick, Riley, and Scubby hurry to the scene.
There you are, Mr. Carter. There's your car, just as we dragged it out of the river this morning.
Now, where are the bodies that were in it, Sergeant?
Right here under the canvas.
So that's them, huh?
Yes, that's Howard Kent and his assistant, all right.
They were both shot through the heart. 32.
Who do you suppose wanted Kent out of the way, Nick?
Can only have been the man behind them, the head of the gambling ring. He's afraid we might catch Kent and so get a lead back to him.
Well, hey, he doesn't stop at anything, does he?
The murdering scoundrel. Oh, the gambling racket's gotten pretty bad these last few months. If you can nab the man who's running it, you'll sure be doing us a favor.
Well, this looks interesting.
What is it, Nick?
Curious pebble lodged in the tread of the rear tire. Look.
Yeah. Well, that probably came from the bed of the river.
No, Scubby. If it were a river pebble, the edges would be rounded by the action of the water. But on this one, the edges are quite sharp. And here's another thing. This pebble is blue flint, a type of rock sometimes crushed and used to cover driveways.
Hey, wait a minute, Nick. I remember seeing blue gravel on a driveway only this morning when we drove out to Morton Weston's house.
I thought you remember, Scubby.
Morton Weston. Sure now, Nick, you don't think he's tied up with this case, do you?
I'm not so sure, Riley.
Oh, I'm afraid you'll run into trouble if you start working on that line, Mr. Carter. Weston is a pretty important man in this county. Besides, he's always been against gambling.
I know that, Sergeant. But that might be just a clever way of averting suspicion.
Well, now, you can't go and accuse him of anything just on the evidence of one little pebble now.
I don't intend to, Riley. But the more I think how calm Weston was when I talked to him about his nephew's death, the more I want to pay him another visit. Only this time, I'm going to make a few preparations first.
Oh, gosh, Patsy, what do you suppose Nick has been doing in the lab all afternoon? He won't even let me in to talk to him.
Me either, Scubby. He's making something. When I offered to help, he said no thanks. Whatever it is, he doesn't want us to know about it.
Yeah,
I hear somebody talking about me.
Nick, you scared me. I didn't hear you open the lab door.
Gosh, Nick, where did you come from?
Why, I've been standing here for several seconds listening to a very interesting conversation.
They say eavesdroppers never hear any good of themselves.
I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, Patsy. I was just seeing if I could still move quietly enough to do a little burglary.
Burglary? What do you mean?
What are you up to now, Nick?
I'd rather not say, Patsy. In case you're asked, you can honestly say you don't know anything about it.
I suppose that means you aren't going to let me go with you.
I'm afraid not.
Well, what about me? Whatever you're up to, you're going to need some help, aren't you?
We might end up in jail, Scubby.
Well, some of my best friends are in jail.
All right, if you want to take the risk, I'll be glad to have you come along.
Oh, well, jail couldn't be any worse than some of the spots we've been in together, Nick. The cellar of the 52 Club, for instance, when we thought we'd been left there to starve.
In that case, we might as well get started. It's almost midnight. High time for good burglars to be at work.
Oh, Nick, now I know where we're going.
Do you, Scubby?
Sure, we're heading for Morton Weston's place, aren't we?
Right. That's it over there. You can just see it in the moonlight.
You mean you're going to burgle his house, Nick?
Going to have a try at it, Scubby. You've got to get evidence against him somehow. Oh, stop here.
Okay.
Pull off the road under those trees.
Right, Nick. Well, here we are. Now, what do we do next?
Well, for the next half hour, I want you to stay here and wait for me.
Wait for you? Oh, Nick, now have a heart. After all, if
Sorry, Scubby, sorry. It's going to be difficult enough for me to get into Weston's house alone. You'll be helping me more by waiting here, ready to make a fast getaway if there's any alarm.
Well, okay, Nick.
I'm going to slip across these fields and approach the house from the rear. I don't think I'll have too much trouble opening those French windows I noticed in Weston's library this morning.
Well, what's that suitcase you brought along for, Nick?
Well, I might be going to use it to carry any incriminating documents I find.
Oh, I see.
Or I might not. All right, Scubby, this won't take any longer than half hour, I hope. See you later.
Hey, is that you, Nick?
Yes, Scubby. Get the car started.
Okay.
Let's get going. A couple of dogs started barking as I left.
Well, did you have any luck, Dick?
Not much. I found Weston's safe and got it open, but Weston's apparently too cagey to keep written records.
And you took all that risk for nothing?
Not entirely.
What do you mean?
You'll find out later, Scubby. Right now, we've got to get back to town and get some sleep. Because tomorrow morning, we're going to pay another visit to Morton Weston.
Another visit?
Yes, this time by appointment. Since we can't find any evidence, we'll see if we can't make him give us some. Mr. Weston, this is my assistant, Scubby Wilson.
Oh, how do you do, Mr.
How do you do?
Won't you gentlemen sit down?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell me, Mr. Carter, have you had any luck running down the man who killed my nephew?
Not yet, but I hope to put my hands on him shortly.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
However, we have located Howard Kent and his assistant, the two men who killed Danny Caswell. They're dead.
Dead? But who killed them, Mr. Carter?
The same person who was really responsible for the death of your nephew. The man behind Kent. No doubt the head of the gambling ring.
Are you sure he was working for someone, Mr. Carter?
I am. And I think I know who it was.
Who, Mr. Carter?
To cut it short, Weston, you.
Well, it's a very interesting conclusion. And may I ask how you reach it?
You may. Yesterday, when I told you your nephew, Philip Mansfield, had been shot, you were quite calm about it. Because you knew it already, didn't you? One of your men shot him.
Well, I'm afraid you're just guessing.
Am I? And listen. When I made my appointment with your nephew, he promised to keep his door locked and admit no one until I arrived.
So? And what of it?
But he did admit someone. The thug who killed him. That means the killer must have been sent by someone whose name would cause Philip to let him in. And the only person in this city that he would trust is you, his uncle.
Well, that's a very interesting deduction. Oh, go on, please.
Somehow, Philip must have let slip he was going to tell me everything. And your thug shot him.
I see. Well, as a matter of fact, that's perfectly true.
What? You mean you admit it?
Why not? Now, sit still, both of you. My men have had you covered for the last 5 minutes.
That's right, Carter. Make a move and it'll be your last.
Hey, Nick, 2 men with guns are covering us from the doorway.
So I see, Scubby. Apparently Weston was too smart for us.
When your secretary phoned to say you were coming, I decided it was time to put you out of the way, Carter. You've been entirely too persistent in this case. Oh, Jake, keep them covered from behind, Joe. You cover them from the side.
Right, boss. Don't worry, boss. We get the situation in hand.
Nick, it looks like they've got us.
I'm afraid it does, Scubby. But we're not out of the way yet.
You see this gun, Carter? I was going to dispose of it. But first, it's going to dispose of you.
I suppose that's the gun you killed Howard Kenton, his assistant, with, huh?
Exactly. And after you're dead, I'll dissolve the gun in acid. Then the police can search forever without being able to trace the slugs they'll find in your bodies. If they find your bodies.
Hey, Nick, he means it.
Yes, Scubby, he does. We've come too close to uncovering the mask of respectability he's been hiding behind all these years.
Exactly, Carter. You're the first to suspect that I control all the gambling in this county. So, you must go.
So, Weston, you admit you're the real owner of the 52 Club, do you?
Well, why not?
And in killing Danny Caswell, Howard Kent was acting for you.
I suppose the law would look at it that way.
And you, in turn, killed Kent and his assistant, had their bodies put in my car and ordered it run to the river.
That's also right. Oh, by the way, Joe, I told you to pick a spot where the water was deep.
Gosh, boy.
Never mind. Now, you do a good job burying Carter and Wilson, and I'll overlook your blunder.
Oh, you can count on me. I know an abandoned gravel quarry where they'll never be found.
Now, I think it's time to put an end to talking. Joe, take this gun.
Just a moment, Weston.
Yes?
Before you do anything more, take a look at the windows there.
Why, what?
Joe, Jake, cop!
All right, Weston, drop that gun.
There, why are you? Scubby, duck!
Nick, Weston's hit.
Yes, but keep down, Scubby.
All right, you two thugs, put up your hands.
Sergeant, look out!
I see him, Mr. Carter. I warned him. Don't shoot, I give up. You'd better. Grab him, men, and take him out of the car.
Right, Sergeant. All right, you two, come along here. Your pal is going to wait for the morgue worker. Nick, are you all right, lad?
Oh, golly, Nick, it's Sergeant Jameson and Riley, and a whole squad of state cops.
Yes, Scubby, I've been expecting that.
Oh.
You're all right, aren't you, boy?
Yes, Riley. But good timing. Another minute and you've been too late.
Oh, we followed your instructions to the dot, Mr. Carter. We gave you just 5 minutes, then crashed in.
Your instructions? Nick, you mean you planned all this?
I did. I said that since we couldn't find any evidence, we'd have to make Weston give us some. So I tricked him into doing it. Oh, how is he, Sergeant?
Well, he'll live, Mr. Carter, but he tried.
And electrocuted. Oh, Sergeant, take a look in that filing cabinet over there.
This one?
Yes.
Why, there's a dictaphone recorder in here.
Right. One I planted last night, Sergeant. You'll find Weston's whole admission recorded on it.
Glory be, Nick. I'll say that was smart work.
I'll say it was. And whoever made that dictaphone is a genius. I never saw one so compact.
A friend of mine, Simon Agnew, made it. Or at least he made the original. That's one I made after examining his.
And that's what you were making in your lab yesterday, Nick.
Yes, Scubby. And I had it in that suitcase you were curious about last night when we came out here. Kept it a secret because if you'd known about it, you might not have been able to act natural this morning.
Well, I'll say I wouldn't. If I'd known we were going to be rescued by a bunch of state cops, I'd have kept turning around to look for them. Gee, Nick, I hate to admit it, but for a while there I was really scared. I thought this case of a murdered dog was going to wind up by being the case of 2 dead detectives.
You mean, Nick, you tricked him into putting every word of his confession on that record?
Yes, Patsy. Now you're up to date on every detail. I haven't left out a thing.
So, starting with a dead watchdog, you wound up by trapping the head of the gambling racket.
Told you I thought it'd be an interesting experience to investigate the murder of a dog, didn't I? Well, it was.
Yeah, a little too interesting if you ask me.
When Simon Agnew regains consciousness, I think he'll be pleased to learn that not only did he start us on the track of that gang, but that he actually wound up the case, too. And then without that recording device he invented, I never would have been able to pin anything on Weston.
That's right, Nick.
And now, Patsy, for the next couple of days, I'm counting on you not to let me be disturbed.
Why, Nick?
Because I'm not going to do anything but loaf for a while. Truth is, now that we've wound up the case of Agnew's murdered watchdog, I'm, brace yourself, dog-tired.
Oh,
brother. So Nick Carter wants to loaf for a while, but he's not going to get the chance. In fact, he's just about to be plunged into the most startling case of his career. The case of the criminal who issued his own currency, bills which could be cashed for $1 million in any part of the world. Don't fail to listen tomorrow. The Strange Adventures of Nick Carter, Master Detective, features Lon Clark as Nick Carter. Patsy is played by Helen Choate. The stories are written by Bob Arthur and David Cogan, and original music is played by Lou White. Be sure to listen tomorrow to a new and thrilling adventure of Nick Carter in the case entitled
The Frightened Refugee, or Nick Carter and the Mystery of the Money Master's Million.
The Return of Nick Carter, a copyright feature of Street and Smith Publications, Incorporated, is presented by the Mutual Broadcasting System from the studios of WOR New York. The adventures of Nick's adopted son, Chick Carter, boy detective, are broadcast over most of these stations Monday through Friday at 5:15 p.m. Eastern Wartime. Nick's own show is presented over most of these stations every evening, Monday through Friday, at 8:15 Eastern Wartime. This is Mutual.
This is Andrea J. Graham, author of the Web Surfer series. Oh, and a Madam's Wife. You're listening to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio.
Welcome back. Of course, I wonder a little bit why Nick didn't end up in trouble for the burglary after the fact. But this is dealing with 1944 rules of evidence and 1944 radio detective rules of evidence at that. So it all works out, and I like the cute little pun at the end, a nice little twist. And I really wish we had more of these serialized stories. And I will keep an ear out, and if we have some more come up that are complete or semi-complete, we will bring them to you with the lost episodes. And if, of course, we get a more complete version of The Accidental Bullet, we'll revisit that. But I hope you enjoyed this trip back to 1943, and I hope you enjoyed some of the excellent inventions. But at any rate, next week we'll be returning to 1948 and those later Nick Carter episodes. But now we do turn to some listener comments and feedback. And Benton says, dig the shows, Adam. Keep them up. Well, thanks so much, Benton. I definitely do appreciate that. That will actually do it for today. We'll be back tomorrow with yours truly, Johnny Dollar. And then next Thursday, join us for another case with Nick Carter. In the meantime, send your comments to box13 at greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives and become one of our friends on Facebook